I'm Anthony Gaipa.
Kevin Cosme here. K. Scott Cosme here.
We are the creators of Albatross Junction. Go check it out on Indiegogo. It's live right now. It's in demand. We're going to wrap up this book and get it shipped out by the end of the summer here, 2021.
Basically, what I had in mind was I think I was going to go over my my workflow, because we went over yours last time and I had those questions for you, right? I think first and foremost, when it came to starting my part of the book, time was a really big issue. So like I always been saying from the get, I didn't want to like go too crazy with the backgrounds. I was going to depend on the coloring to kind of like indicate some backgrounds with like big shapes and lights, you know, smoke and mirrors type deal. Like instead of drawing a bunch of pipes in the ceiling, I would just, you know, block them in really quick and just, you know, just show light and shadow, just basically blurry lights and shadows. That's all I'm playing with in the background. So I try to keep the pencils as clean as possible, then the inks on top of it. And you can see like up here, I didn't really like the form, so you know, I would use the white out and just make it stark white in coloring as well. I think that's where it starts off. Well, I'm hitting up all the whites, just making the whites whites and the black black. And I always bring in the previous page for reference, so I could just sample the colors, just keep it moving. You know what I mean? And I bring it in on a layer just so I could sample it real quick, and I don't have to worry if it's consistent or not. You know what I mean? So and then a way the way I kind of like blocking the shadows quick is just black on top, multiply the layer, and then I erase to get the shapes and highlights out. Instead of like adding white first, I save like the true highlights for like the last. At the end of this page where I put those bars of light, I kind of had that idea in my head already. Like I was just gonna play with like bars of light going down the corridor. So I was like, maybe they're gonna be pink. So I started playing with the pink highlights already because I knew that was gonna come in at the end. And then I wanted to block in some shadows, and I was hoping it was translated. I think it translated well. Just like you would know the shadows Donovan, like, you know, he's in this panel holding a box, holding his gun. So I think it translates that this shadow is him. What I didn't allow for was a word bubble. So later on, I don't think it's I caught it here. I think I had to do it manually, where I had to like clip out his panel, bring it down, and stretch it out, make it a little taller, so I can like put his word bubbles in there. There's this one default brush that comes with Procreate that I thought worked well just to make like rock shapes, rock forms, and then like you can go and pick and choose like just like, you know, what you want to put shadows on to kind of call out the wall and back of it. You know what I mean? Brought in another page. This is the page after that page. I brought another page just to sample the colors off of. This is actually the first page I drew, right? The first page I drew and you inked.
For issue 2, right?
For issue 2, yeah. It's the first page I actually drew on paper. I penciled in, and I gave it to you, and you inked this page. I read the script, right? And the script, like you wrote the script pretty... It's like a play. It's almost in a play format where you say, you know, Donovan points gun at Alba. Then Donovan, you know, yells while pointing gun at Alba. And then, like, Alba presses the button. Like, you know, it's real literal. So, I mean, I took your direction literally. I always take the direction literally. Like, you know, Donovan points gun. Boom, he's pointing the gun. Like, oh, he yelled at Alba while pointing the gun. Boom, he's yelling at her while pointing the gun. And then she hits the device, click, hits the device, and he just feels that shock of pain going through his system. So
I like the way you led the Donovan panel there, where his eyes are kind of bugged out, right to the injury on his hand with like a very thin red line.
So So I'm always bringing up the fact that we're graphic designers, right? So that comes into play a lot when I'm trying to make quick decisions on how to lead the eye. You know, like graphic design is all about leading the eye and like forcing somebody to read something a certain way. And it's the same thing with laying out the panels, right? So I use these perspective lines to kind of lead your eye from the gun to Alba really quick. And the biggest box is going to get your eye automatically, which is boom, is going to come here. That's the next biggest thing. And I overlap them just so I think I'm going to lead that the gun is going to kind of lead you there to the click, to the reaction, to the old shit. And then this was like this kind of like answered the problem I had with wanting the reader to see the hand before going back to the blood. Because like, you know, if you have a big red blob, you're going to look at that first. Your eye's always going to go back there, regardless. So the read, I really wanted to go this way, just boom, boom, and like come to the hand, then come to him, just in agonizing pain. But now that the page is finished. Not that it's distracting, but if you put a red dot in the bottom right corner, it's always going to lead the reader off the page regardless, right? So this is why I went with those neon, which you'll see in a minute, that those bright neon lights, kind of going down the hallway over here with Alba. Oh, what happened to this? Oh, there we go. Then again, like I said just now, I overlaid the black multiply, then I erased just to get some highlights out of it, get the objects popping out. And this is definitely the funnest part, man. Coloring is definitely, this is where you're allowed to have fun and experiment with some shit. Because penciling, there's no playing around with penciling. That's stressful to me because it's like, damn, did I fuck up? This shape is messed up. Oh, this is ugly, blah, blah, blah. I got to erase, and you don't want to erase too much. You don't want to mess up the page. Inking is a little more laxed. Then coloring, you just have fun, bro. That's where all the fun is. You know what I've been struggling with too? Like expressions. I've been really looking in the mirror. I look in the mirror all the time like a crazy person. I try to catch an expression. It's hard, man.
Works. I also like how his eyes lead you out of that panel toward the hand as well. Yeah. So it's not just that blood splatter, but it's also the way the character is looking, the direction the character's looking.
I wanted to find a way to kind of show that he was being like burned from the inside without showing like any type of burning or something coming through the skin. And I also wanted it to relate to being digital, because you know they have those hemo bites, that hemotech in their blood. So there's like a glitch effect that you see me add to the face and the hand. And the hardest part about that was like knowing when it was enough. Because you know, you find an effect that's nice, you just want to overdo it. It's easy to overdo it. Just like, you know, you got a canned answer, so you just put the effect. But then like too much is just too much. You know how they always say less is more. So you can see me trying to play with it right here. So I kind of wanted to get like that digital effect on him to kind of show that he's being fucked with from the inside out. Yeah, man. So you know it's funny too, to talk about consistency. That's been kicking me in the ass too, consistency, because it's not like we didn't have a meeting and go over like clothes. Like we didn't say, oh, Donovan wears this every time he wears that. Da, da, da. We kind of had like loose discussions. Like, yeah, I drew him with a sash with this thing. I'm like that was it, right? So at first I would always forget that shit. You would see it here, like I just drew a jacket, and then it hit me. I was like, wait, am I drawing the same jacket that Andrew? Then remember we had that conversation. He was like, it doesn't have to be exact. Like it's kind of forgiving. You don't have to be exact. And I'm like, but you had that fucking like that Chewbacca fucking stash or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, because what Donovan uses is similar to what the other characters use in the way of the construction kit. But Donovan always has something more special than everybody else. So that sash is a nanotech sash that can change into something. So it's a more powerful version of the construction kit, basically, that he has. The most advanced one.
He got a lot of advanced shit on him that's not really like, it's not obvious. Like that skin suit that he has, like kind of like, it's like a skin. And another thing that I go back and forth with is always trying to make it look cold, right? So I'm always wanting to make like the breath, the steam that comes off your head if you sweat a little bit in cold weather, and then you just hope it translates, right? You just hope you catch it.
I just got done adding that to one of my pages, which was the breath of the two characters as they spoke. Yeah. I knew that in our cold world of Albatross Junction, there would be, like you said, that vapor or that like emission from the mouth when someone spoke, because their breath would be so much hotter than like the negative 150 air. Actually, since Donovan's inside here, but still, we even said even still with the heat on, it's still like cold 30. So it's still like freezing cold even with the heat on. It's just like it's just not quite as terrifying. Like there's only so much heating system can do.
Then another struggle I have, I go back and forth with, is whenever I pull up a reference pic of anyone like in Alaska or just anywhere that's cold on Earth, you know, like you get the icicles in the snow in your beard, your skin looks crazy, your eyelashes catch snow. But then our characters, we all have the nano, which keeps them a little warmer, right? So it's like that could just be handled with either a text, either like a conversation or a narration box. I kind of like as a reminder, like listen, like they would freeze to death without the nano. Like the nanos really help them a little bit.
For the hair, though, for beards and for hair, there would be, snow and ice probably stuck to them, because the hair being a few inches off the body would probably be frozen a lot of the time, especially outside.
But remember, these two walked in with those little orbs, little sun orbs, whatever we're gonna call them.
Right. Everybody's got some kind of technology, and they're fighting for different technology that allow them to be more comfortable or able to operate. Like there was this one image on one of the trading cards that we made for the volume 1, which is like, it's about Lumiforge, Lumifire, but the guy also has like, it's almost like a hairnet, but it's a hairnet made of material light, which is one of the products in our story that it warms you. It's like a material that is not quite real. It's more like a hologram. It's
almost like plasma, almost either a hologram or plasma, but it heats up. You can construct anything anything you want.
Yeah, so they can like wear that as garments. Even there's like that one that one character in that trading card is like wearing almost like a wig of material light just to keep their head warm, because that's like the first thing. If your head gets cold, you will get cold quicker.
So just like I said before, I didn't want to go too crazy. Well, I didn't have time. I don't have time to go too crazy with the background, so I just wanted to block in just indication of background. I think doing it with the lights kind of like a slick way to do it. Brain just kind of like fills in that hallway, doesn't it?
Right.
Like you see that you could kind of like that's a wall. There's probably some crazy shit on there. It looks cold and foggy. Who knows what's behind Alba? But that it just keeps going down in that direction. And this totally looks like Get Out right here. This reminds me of like Get Out. Like he's like, oh shit.
Since this is issue 2, issue 1 and 2 come together in the volume. Issue 1 has a lot of detail in the background of this facility that they're in.
Yeah, you went crazy. You went crazy in the background.
It's only a few pages before this, right? So you're following them down the hallway. You see a lot of scenes of this hallway.
That helps me out. That helps my side out, because like
so I don't have to too, so you don't have to really, because like this, like you said,
that helped me out.
The reason why this indication with light works is because we saw the hallway already. That's what I'm saying. So
the whole vibe.
We saw where they are already. It was detailed. Now it's just an indication of that type of technology on the wall and stuff. So that works.
Yeah, man. So as soon as I'm done with the page, you know, I just move on to the next one. I'll either screenshot this page or I'll bring in the same one I sampled for colors for the next. And these are consecutive pages, like one consecutive scene. So you'll see it just jump right in. Look at that. Boom, boom, right there. So this was kind of a cool page because, you know, Donovan just had his gun drawn on Alba and he doesn't know who the hell she is. So he's kind of radioing back to Dobbs, who's outside about to face this Dybbuk for the first time. So Dobbs just has his own situation going on. And he's like, yo, Dobbs, this lady's here. I don't know who the fuck she is. Like, what's going on? You get a reading from her, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's up? But Dobbs, you know, he's about to face off. So the fun I got to have with this page was the color palettes were different because Dobbs' color palette for being outside was way different than Donovan's color palette being inside. I felt like schizophrenic because I had to be in a mindset to kind of like to remember that Donovan is inside up top. So use those colors and those highlights and those backgrounds. And then when I go, because when you get in that flow state, you just want to keep going. So it's easy just to have one color. You just forget. You just totally just zone out and forget. So I just had to keep reminding myself that Dobbs is outside with the oranges and the greens and the red backgrounds and all that.
Yeah, I would think the colors on these two panels have to be different so that we know that it's not the same situation.
Yeah.
That it's like switching like a meanwhile type of thing. Is this the page where the radio is on the ground, or that's a different page?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was another thing. Like at first, I gave him a device that kind of looks similar to our cell phones, but I'm like, this is in the future. Who knows what they're gonna have, right? Is it gonna be it could be something internal, but you know, I just settled on making it just like an earbud that he'll just talk to. It's just me just playing around with a quick sketch with position. There's a lot of playing that goes on when I'm coloring. I play around a lot, like just to. There's nothing like set in stone in my head where I'm like, oh, this is gonna go here, that's gonna go there. So yeah, and even in here, I wanted to, like, you know, how you walking down the hallway, you see like a lot of like clones and just shit growing that just went wrong. So I kind of wanted to just block that in as well. Like that's some creature in the tube that he tried to grow that just either worked or it didn't. This is me putting together some type of scanner.
It seems like you are still developing the page at every stage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whereas that's one of the luxuries you can have when you're doing all three of those jobs and even the lettering job. So 4 jobs, which is you can kind of, I guess that's the perk, right? Is like you can take it at every stage to the redesign, or, you know, like you had sort of a plan here, I'm assuming, for the inset, and you had to wait till the color stage to actually produce the inset, unless that happened or you're waiting for an idea and the idea came in the meantime or something.
The idea I always had about the clothes being either the clothes and hair having like snow on it or being like having a frosted look. So it's always in like the front of my mind, right? So I wanted it to show that he's outside in the snow. It's starting to snow heavier and heavier. But I'm always thinking maybe the edge of the page could be cold, but it wasn't enough. I'm like, you know what, that's not good enough. So I erased that and I put it on his pants because, like, you know, when you're outside in the snow, your pants get a lot of that snow on the bottom of it and your shoes and all that. I think it worked out real nice on the bottom here. Bottom of Dobbs' pants.
Not only the colors, I think you forgot to mention between the differences in the locales of the top versus the bottom scene is that you also put a great indication that it's outside with the snow itself.
With the snow, yeah, man. And I've always liked, even in movies, when I'm watching movies and it's real foggy and hazy and there's lights in the background, I like the way the lights interact with fog and smoke. It's like they get like blown out and it makes it look like a real mist around it. Oh, there's this little, you can see the little earpiece right here that I did. And what was funny was after I was done with the like the heat signatures, because like, yo, there's a woman over here, she's not showing up on my heat signature, da-da-da. Like, I kind of rushed this whole little piece together. But then after I reread the script, it said that she wasn't showing up, right? So I was like, oh, I have to make her look different. Like, her heat signature isn't showing up. So I had to go back in her little figure, and I think I filled her in with blue or some other colors just to show that she's just not affected. Like, she's not.
Like, she's also cold.
Yeah, you see?
Just like the environment.
Yeah, she's just like, but she's just unaffected. Doesn't bother her at all.
So the two
guys
top
all heated up.
People are the two characters. They're like reading their own body signs, and then they're reading the woman, and she doesn't have those. She doesn't have shit. Okay.
You see, I'm trying to add like all these little red dots to rep like all the nano in their blood. It's real faint on the picture here, but you can kind of tell. Cause I think that's exactly what he says. Like, I'm reading the nanos on you and me, but not her. Like who is this woman? Like, what's going on? Like, why isn't she coming up in my reading? And then you see me just blocking the background on the bottom. I'm just gonna block it like some basic shapes, maybe masses of like a building or just windows and light. The final, I wanted to have some type of atmosphere because they're outside, right? So I definitely wanted to drive home the point that they were outside on the bottom and Donovan was still inside up top. Just the easiest way for me to do that was just to show like just lights coming from buildings. Maybe I put in some shapes going down on either side of them in perspective. Gave them like an orange window glowing, a green window in the distance glowing, some other lights in the background. I lit up the Dybbuk from behind. As simple as a choice as that was, I think it worked. Like, it drives it home, man, perfectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like,
it's a great
we've had so many. I mean, because everyone who's looking at this has so many like life experience, right? And seeing like neon lights and lit up windows that you kind of just fill that in. You just fill it in. You just understand it, right? You just see like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that must look like. Then it all kind of just focuses on this fucking monster ready to attack this dude, man. The funny part about this that like nobody really knows though is like I spent so much time on this damn earpiece. on this little earpiece that you're really not gonna zoom in on. Cause like, you know, that's not the first one I did, you know what I'm saying? That's just where it ended.
An earpiece. I can get that. Yeah.
Funny as hell, man. Funny as hell. I was zoomed in. You know how sometimes you get lost zooming in and you're doing this little corner of the page? Then when you zoom out, you're like, yo, why the fuck did I just spend like 30 minutes on this little 1 inch by 1 inch square? Like, what am I doing?
I like the detail. That's great. It'll be a good test for the printing process. See
hell yeah.
We can see.
So that's pretty much been my workflow from for the second book.
Like there's an uneasy feeling about the second panel here, or the third panel, I guess you could say, with the Dybbuk monster crouched down. Is that he's directly in the center?
Yeah,
that's normally, you know, you'd like to see something off center to make you feel more comfortable, but this isn't good uneasy feeling for the scene because
he has no choice but he has to deal with this shit. Where you know, like the more you work on things, the more you learn about yourself. I'm learning that I don't consider the fucking word bubbles at all until it's almost too late. And I'm like, fuck, like, oh shit. Like, so, but all of this just gives me a bigger appreciation for all those dudes that did it before us, man. Like, cause you remember, like, we were last together, I was showing you how I saw this dude, like, he drew in every word bubble and then he drew the characters, you know what I mean? And then he drew in the lettering and it fit perfect. I'm like, what the fuck? That's some like Super Saiyan level of just this comic book drawing. I think I'm getting better at it though, because like I'll keep the script up, and I know what he has to say here. So I'm like, oh, maybe I can't put him it's like straight up in the middle anymore because he has to say this much, or I can't put him to the left because he has to say he's directing his conversation over here. You know what I mean?
That's really important to have the script up.
That's important as hell, bro. But
while
I mean,
you're penciling,
when you first start though, you don't. That's not in your head. It's just not in your mind. You just think the artwork is all you got to do, and you're like, wait, I got all this other shit to take into consideration. It's wild. It's wild. It's fun though, man. It's like it gets frustrating at times, but it's fun though. It's fun as hell. Best part is when the page is done and you see it and you're like, oh yeah, like this is nice. Because I don't know about you, but I still go through the motions of this sucks. I'm not gonna pull this off. This is looking okay. Oh, this is all right. Like, oh, this page is working. Oh, this page is hot. You know what I'm saying? But it goes from like sucks to like fuck. I'm not gonna do it. I suck. I was looking decent. I keep working. And it's like, oh, it's getting there. Then you just stop when it's like, oh, this is dope. But that's what everything I've ever drawn, everything I've ever painted is the same fucking. It's the same way. It works out the same exact way.
The blank page for me is like a fantasy world where like anything can happen.
Yeah. But it's still intimidating sometimes. I gotta make this happen on this blank page. You know what's gonna be fun is drawing the next series because like I'm drawing them all out on paper now. I still gotta go by and scan them by you.
The sun is gone. Albatross Junction.